taking a number of very important steps to get guns off our streets. It starts with criminal code amendments that Minister Fraser is putting through the House as we speak. It starts with Bill C-12 with respect to a stronger border, along with our $1.3 billion investments at the border. We're adding 1,000 new RCMP and CBSA personnel to ensure that our borders are more secure, and we tackle the issues around transnational organized crime that works to make sure that guns are off our street. The assault-style firearms compensation program is an additional measure that we have been working on. It prohibits 2,500 firearms from our streets. It essentially are assault-style firearms that are meant to cause maximum harm to individuals. These are not the type of firearms that are used for hunting or other types of leisure activity. These are lethal weapons that we're taking off our streets. In the context of all the things that we're doing, what we want to ensure is those who have licensed firearms are able to get compensated for firearms that they're unable to use in their future. So that is essentially what we're doing, compensating them and making sure that they're not out of pocket. And it is a program that is needed in the context of all the work that we're doing around making sure guns are off our streets.
Rod, let's start with you because you are the firearms rights guru. The minister said a lot of things that is ripe for debate, I think. But overall, it's the same theme, it seems to me as an outside observer. It's all about getting guns off the streets. But you know what? The gun crimes are being committed by gangbangers with illegally obtained firearms. How does going after law-abiding gun owners, gun collectors, hunters, target shooters, how is it going after them will improve any safety on the streets of our great Dominion?
Well, it obviously isn't. Even the police are begging the government to throw this whole thing into reverse. The police are begging them, and that's very unusual. For people that aren't familiar with our topic, that is very unusual for the police to show up on the side of people that own guns. The main problem with Minister Ananda Sangari, by the way.
You're the journalist.
I'm just trying to impress you guys.
Yeah.
But hopefully it worked. The problem with what the minister said is not a single thing he said was true. Zero of it. So, and I'm going to have to call a falsity on you as well, David. He isn't the stupidest. We forget Marco Mendocino. Man, that guy is dumb as a post. Anyway, but they're in a race for last place, I guess, the two of these guys.
Yeah, that's a photo finish.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. The jury's still out. The Russian judge is holding out. So the problem is, he said, we're trying to get these guns off our street. Well, there's more than one street in Canada, so that's untrue. No, it's, these guns were never on the streets, for one. For two, he's trying to conflate licensed gun owners with criminals. Of course, that's not true as well. He said that they're going to compensate gun owners. Now, this is the biggest scandal, and we sent out a media advisory twice on this, and the legacy media in Canada has yet to even acknowledge it.
Jeez.
I've done many interviews since this whole thing started, and not one interview on this. I was in a meeting with public safety. It was the technical briefing, and this is about 2.5 months ago, about the buyback rolling out in Cape Breton. In that meeting, public safety said flat out to me that they are going to rip off the overwhelming majority of gun owners. So the form, I'm going to try not to be too long, but this is super important. I asked them, they said this program is capped at $742 million. I said, well, how many? That's weird, including the administrative costs and everything they've spent so far on this. So I said, well, how many guns are you planning to buy? And they said 152,000. There are more than 2 million of these newly prohibited firearms in circulation. So the story is wildly scandalous, because if the Liberals cared at all about actual public safety, and this was truly about public safety, they would buy all of them for everyone that would participate. They would encourage gun owners to participate, but instead they invite the gun lobby into a technical briefing, tell them they're going to rip everybody off basically so that people don't participate and they hang on to these guns illegally. That way they don't have to spend the probably $5 billion that this program actually would cost. So, and the last thing, I know I've been talking for a minute, but he said that these are specifically guns that are particularly lethal. These are weapons of war, soldiers to kill other soldiers, all the rest of that stuff. They banned almost every single 22 caliber semi-auto in the entire country, purpose built for plinking pots and pans in the back 40. This is among the variety of firearms that have nothing to do with a threat to public safety. So I tell you, I am so tired of the lies and manipulation, and that's just, but they got their foot to the floor. Sorry for the long commentary.
No, it's very worthwhile. And Alexa, to Rod's point, I mean, I find that particularly egregious and outrageous that they're openly saying, yeah, if you're a firearm owner, when it comes to compensation, we're going to rip you off, A. And B, you know, Alexa, every once in a while when I'm out of the GTA, I go to the local gun shop. And these guys are hurting. They are suffering. Their inventory is being canceled with every announcement. What happened to this elbows up stuff? Because, you know, I think if you're in the gun shop business, this is devastating. Why are the Liberals so ardent in going down this route when, as Rod said, even police chiefs who are normally all about gun control, they're saying this is failed policy. It is not going to do one iota of difference in terms of safety on our streets.
But Gary Anasan Gary doesn't even believe on this gun grab. You remember the leak conversation?
Yes.
Where he actually said that he don't believe that there is already poor result with this. The gun owner, the legal one, want to keep their gun. They bought it for something. What make me believe, like, where is actually the goal of our government when the legal gun cannot actually be take back by the government? If you own an illegal gun, you can't just go and ask for a compensation. They would not take it. It's not a legal gun. It's not registered anywhere.
You know,
so what is the point of this gun grab at the end of the day? Is it for protecting the population from the illegal gun, or is for disarming the Canadian and actually stopping them to be able to defend their home? Because remember when the police say, if someone break into your home, don't fight back. Put your key near the door and just like let them steal whatever you want. They want, actually.
Great points, Alexa. I forgot about that leaked call. And of course, Gary's excuse, I didn't know I was being recorded. Yeah, so that allows you to lie. Unbelievable. And you know, Drea, to Alexa's point of self-defense, castle domain, we have seen so many examples where people have been severely injured, have been murdered. And really, if you look at our castle laws, they're incredibly weak. It's all about, yeah, you can fight back, you can use self-defense, but it can't be unreasonable force. And the devil in the details is, what does that mean? Can I use the back of my hand, a fist, a wooden spoon from the kitchen counter? And that's why I think it's a real winner proposition for the Pierre Poilievre Conservatives to say that we will strengthen the castle laws, including the use of lethal force. Hey, you break into my house at 3 a.m. and have my loved ones there. I'm not sitting down going, I got to do the math here. What should I be doing in terms of reasonable or unreasonable force? Papa Bear is kicking in. I'm filled with adrenaline. So, yeah, maybe to Alexa's point, this is all about disarming honest, law-abiding taxpayers.
Well, when in history has it ever been a good sign when the government is taking guns from law-abiding citizens? And I'm sure Rod would have maybe more recent stats, but I was looking at the stats, I think from 2016, and it's somewhere between 12 and 13% of homicides. The guns were illegal, or sorry, I should say only 12 to 13% were law-abiding gun owners in homicide. So when you have the government spending all of this money, telling the public this is about safety, but they're ignoring or not putting all of those resources into the 90% of cases that are actually a risk. If you look at the chart at the bottom there, you know that you're being gaslighted. But another reason we're being gaslighted here is that scrum there is taking place in British Columbia, where we have extortion shooting issue that is happening to the point that in Surrey alone this year, they've opened up 100 files of extortion cases, many of which involve firearms. And those, I mean, we haven't solved most of them, but those are not, law-abiding gun owners. And not only that, as I've reported before, they're not likely to be Canadians either. The mainstream media will say, foreign nationals, but if you actually look, we've had at least 5 deportations already. There's at least 96 individuals connected to these cases being investigated. And that is all, they're also looking into whether or not they're supposed to be here in the first place. So major gaslighting happening there, where they're in BC, Evie was there, our public safety minister was there as well, and they're all nodding their head to this plan like they're taking some action when it's not, of course, addressing the root of the issue. Now, if you guys have something to say, because this is important, when they come to take your guns, like I said, it's not a good sign. Make sure you let us know in the comments, or if you want to add anything, you can do that if you're watching on YouTube in a really cool way. You can leave us a super chat, or if you're watching this after the live, you can leave us a super thanks is what it's called. And so when you donate $5 or more, it helps keeps the light on at Rebel News, but it also becomes fun because we read your comment, make it part of the show. And on Rumble, you can do that on Rumble Rats, or that's the method you use. Sorry.
Fantastic. And, Rod, last word goes to you on this file. I mean, to Drea's point, can you imagine? I mean, fancy that. Criminals not registering their guns to commit crime. Yeah, that's what makes them criminals. They don't follow the rules, including gun registration rules. But very quickly, I want to give you the last word in terms of transparency and consultation, because you told me off air that the firearms rights groups, they were never consulted one iota. It's full speed ahead. And it's a bit of a dichotomy, because I understand and this is going to be a real third rail issue, I think, for the gun grabbing liberals. They're talking about banning the SKS rifle. This is very popular on native reserves. And lo and behold, with the native groups, they are having consultations. Rod, why the double standard?
Because all this is about politics. Well, it's about politics and it's about disarmament, to be honest with you. But it's that conversation is particularly interesting, right? Because I guess their position is you have indigenous groups using this firearm for hunting or whatever, and they want to, acknowledge their heritage and their right. This is a Soviet era rifle. It's like, well, the indigenous have a right to their Soviet era, an ancestral right to their Soviet era, military rifles. They're just afraid of the indigenous is the end at what it is at the end of the day, because this whole thing is heading to a point where they're going to have to start arresting, charging, convicting, and imprisoning law-abiding people. And they're particularly afraid of noncompliance from indigenous Canadians, right? So again, there's no connection to public safety. It's all about politics and optics and disarmament. They don't think, the elite ruling class of Canada don't think that we should have guns. They can have guns to protect themselves and private security paid for from our tax dollars, but not you. So it's a very frustrating situation.